For the last few days, Kenyans have been protesting fuel prices. And with all due respect, it has been ugly.
There have been shootings zenye zimekuwa zikihappen from 10 a.m. and sources wanasema kwamba up to 10 people might have been unalived.
And this common understanding has been arrived at unanimously.
Bwana CS Churchill, with all due respect, we have not agreed.
A few moments later.
The strike has been suspended.
With all due respect. Kwani nilikusifu mapema.
But somehow, despite all that, UDA leaders have managed to turn this fuel crisis into a tribal argument. They were like, this is not going to be about the economy. It's not going to be about high prices of fuel. It's going to be a tribal issue.
Did they feel that it was okay to understand President Uhuru Kenyatta, but when it is President William Ruto, they should go to the streets?
And funny enough, one man has been very active in trying to promote this narrative. His name is Hassan Omar.
Siku moja aliposhikilia, muliita Moi passing cloud.
The SG of UDA.
Munaharibu nchi bana. Throughout. Ni nyinyi tu mnang'oa infrastructure. Ni nyinyi mnaibia watu.
And honestly, every time this man speaks, apart from being totally disgusted by everything that he says, you start seeing a pattern. A pattern that is slowly being turned into a strategy that can only be described as a desperate attempt by William Samoei Ruto to cling to power no matter what.
Kama vile Moi was not a passing cloud, neither is Ruto going to be there for one term. He will serve his two full terms.
If you love this kind of content, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. Now let's get to the video.
What we have agreed here, I can confirm. The CS Mbadi and CS Mukomen are seated here Wandai.
Matatu operators in Nairobi feel that they've not been well represented by their officials during the negotiations with the government to lower the prices of fuel.
Tulikuwa tunalipa 50, sasa ni 80 ama 100. Na hiyo pesa ndio hakuna.
Confirmation ya Mpesa ni gapi? Bahasha ilikuwa na nini? No. We are too bright for this.
Long story short, being Kenyan has not been easy. Kenyans have been furious. Fuel prices have been up again. Transport costs went up. Food prices went up. Everything became more expensive. Monday especially was very intense.
There has been a lot of tear gas and a lot of action here running.
The protest was mostly about fuel.
Akaweze kutupunguzia bei ya mafuta.
And then it turned from a fuel protest to a cost of living protest. And as usual, after killing innocent Kenyans, the government went ahead to respond badly, very badly.
There must be a certain level of profiling that applies to William Ruto that does not apply to President Uhuru Kenyatta. And the guess is as good as your guess is as good as mine.
By Monday evening, the Interior CS, that is Kipchumba Murkomen, had already changed the conversation completely.
The transport sector, the way you understood President Uhuru Kenyatta and never went on strike just less than 5 years ago, that is the same way you should understand President William Ruto because he's in office.
Instead of addressing suffering Kenyans, he started talking about tribe. He claimed that people only protest because the president is Kalenjin. He even compared it to Uhuru's time.
That we never organized a protest. We never agitated for Matatu sector to stop.
He basically suggested that fuel prices during Uhuru's time still shot up, but nothing happened. You know why? Because he was Kikuyu. Think about that. A genuine economic crisis being reduced to tribal politics, and that was just the beginning.
We have gotten to that point in our lives when we must say enough is enough.
Then came Tuesday, and this is where things got uglier, because the UDA SG, that is Hassan Omar Hassan, came out and claimed that the fuel protests were actually being funded by the Kikuyus.
Tusikubali wakabila kila wakati kukiwa na kiangazi ama kukiwa na force majeure, force of nature. Wanatumia hisia zao za ukabila na incitement kwa jamii zao.
Not just Kikuyus generally, he specifically mentioned names. He said it is Rigathi Gachagua.
Mimi sijasema kuna mtu, nilisema ni Rigiji.
the issue stopped being about fuel prices. Now it became Mount Kenya is fighting the president.
Wapotofu hizi mayowe walikuwa hawampigii Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta, William Ruto anakuja anamwambia najaribu hapa. Uhuru Kenyatta analia, mimi ndio niko Ukraine.
But here's the problem with that narrative. Kenyans of every tribe are actually struggling. Luos are suffering. Luyas are suffering. Kambas are suffering. Kalenjins are suffering.
Serikali imetuumiza, sasa tunalia kama serikali inawezekana isaidie mwananchi. Mwananchi anaumia, sio serikali inaumia.
Basically, all tribes are suffering. So this cannot be reduced to a tribal issue. This is a cost of living issue.
I want to say, Hassan Omar, you are the ones radicalizing the people of Kenya. When you ask Churchill to kill the matatu industry and replace it with BTR buses, what are you doing? That is radicalization.
And mind you, this is not the first time that Hassan Omar is speaking like this. Not long ago, he attacked Ndindi Nyoro. He actually claimed that Central Province or Central Kenya had benefited too much from government development.
Ndindi Nyoro was chairman of the budget committee, allocated roads for himself, did everything to build Kiharu and part of the larger areas.
He even suggested that now it is time for other regions to eat.
Then Ndindi Nyoro now doesn't want us to take debt so that Endorois, Turkanas, Somalis, Gabras, Boranas, Giriamas, maendeleo isiwafikie ili mtutu wa jinga.
He even went further when talking about borrowing to say that the president will borrow as much as he can to develop other areas of the country. And guess what? It is your children who are going to pay those loans.
Nakwambia Ndindi, tutachukua deni, watoto wetu na watoto wenu watalipa kwa pamoja hiyo deni.
This has now become a pattern. Every criticism against the government is blamed on Mount Kenya. Every protest, somehow they find a way to blame Gachagua. Every public complaint is turned into a tribal issue.
The whole idea about Rigiji, Ndindi Nyoro, Wamunyoro is to sabotage the country's economy, to ensure that the country's economy reaches a point of menopause, unable to produce, so that they can blame other Kenyans for lacking the competence to run Kenya's economy.
And I know you're thinking they stopped there. They did not. CS Treasury, that is Bandi, said that this thing was actually politically motivated, and he said it is Gachagua.
Why should you burn tires on the roads? Why should you put stones on the road? It means that someone is now politicizing a crisis that is already bad and making it worse for their own political objectives.
Again, the same script. Then, Speaker of the Parliament, that is Moses Wetangula, he joined the conversation too. He claimed that whenever a Kikuyu is not president, there is always unrest in the country.
Jamii yenu ina bahati kubwa. Umetupatia marais watatu katika nchi ya Kenya. Tunasema haleluya. Mimi nawaomba wale wanasiasa wenye hasira ipunguke, tupendane, tujenge nchi yetu.
So now the narrative is very clear. They want Kenyans to believe that this anger against William Samoei Ruto is not actually genuine, that it is simply one community refusing to accept losing power. But are Kenyans that stupid really? I believe and I want to trust that they are not.
Secretary General of UDA stood in a presser and threatened an entire community. Na mumenyamaza. Hata media house haziongei hiyo story. Hata wale watu wanajuanga who is tribal and who is not. They are silent. Hata huwezi sema wana existingi.
The reality is simple. William Samoei Ruto is unpopular nationally, not tribally, nationally. People are angry because of taxes. They are angry because of fuel prices. They are angry because of the economy. Because life has basically become unbearable in this country. That is just the simple truth. And the more UDA leaders keep tribalizing such matters, the more they appear desperate.
What you should know is whatever the SG of UDA said is the stand of the UDA party, is the stand of the UDA party leader, is the stand of the entire UDA party.
Kenyans have started to say this strategy too early. People can already see what is happening. Voters know that you're trying to weaponize tribalism to avoid accountability, and that strategy will fall on its face.
tumekaa tumeng'ang'ana, mmetugandamiza, tumewaangalia sisi wale wavivu wa kuongojea nazi kuanguka, mkatuita hivyo, mkatutia ila, mkaja mkaiba mashamba yetu. Kinyata wako na mashamba Kwale, Taita Taveta, Mombasa, na babako alikuwa mzee, alipata aje hiyo mashamba yote?
I like what Dende Nyoro said about respecting the intellect of the voter.
I think over time we have now come to learn as leaders that we are not leaders because we know more. We are leaders just because Kenyans have given us that privilege. And when we know that, then you can't play around with Kenyans.
You see, at the end of the day, fuel prices do not choose tribe. Taxes, they do not recognize tribe. Hustling, suffering, all these things, they do not recognize tribe.
Murkomen akaongea ukabila. Huyo SG wa UDA akaongea ukabila. Hakuna mtu amewaongelesha. Ile siku utasikia Mount Kenya Unity, hapo ndio ukabila itakujia. Why do you take people for fools?
And the more the government keeps reducing national matters into tribal politics, the more disconnected they look from ordinary Kenyans.
Whether we do it, whether we continue with the strike or not, it's just going to get worse.
Okay.
There is no more elasticity. You can no longer tax a Kenyan in whatever name. Call it a levy, call it a price increase, whatever it is you want to call. The Kenyan has gotten to the maximum. They can't take any other price adjustment.
Hassan Omar may think that he's defending the president, but every time he opens his mouth, he exposes the 2027 strategy even more. And Kenyans are watching carefully and they're saying, one term.